So I was just tagged by a bunch of people on a film that's on Tubi called Trump versus the Illuminatis. And I have to say, it was an hour and 8 minutes long. And I was like, all right, I'll check it out. Let's see what fuckery this is. It is an hour too long. So the whole thing is animated. First of all, the Illuminatis are extraterrestrials. So why was it called Alien versus Predator? The guy didn't want to get sued. To begin with, it takes place in like 2044, and it's not Trump, because I was like, oh my God, these people still think Trump's going to be alive in like 20 years? No, it's a clone of Trump that was made by the Chinese government. So they really pushed that this clone was made by the Chinese government. And then the clone escapes and goes to Mars and survives on Mars. How Trump survives on Mars. It's fantasy already. It's fantasy. These right-wingers have this fucking fantasy world, but he survives on Mars. And by the way, this is the first 20 minutes of just narration where they repeat the same thing twice. First is the narrator, and then Trump repeats the same thing the narrator just said. So I'm like, oh my God, like this is ridiculous. And then everybody in the galaxy is looking for Trump because they need him to fulfill this prophecy of being the savior of the galaxy. Now he's not the savior of democracy. He's the savior of the galaxy to right-wingers. And then after we get past the 20 minutes of backstory, when people start talking, it is the most racist, sexist, xenophobic dialogue I have ever seen in my life. There is one female commander who looks like the character from Halo, and the amount of sexual harassment that every single male character throws at her, I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. And then when the bad guys, because it gets so confusing, you don't know who the good guys or the bad guys is. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, okay? But when the bad guys find Trump, he bribes them with 10 million yens. So he escaped from a Chinese lab, but not before stealing money, because he's gonna need money in space. What? But then when the bribery doesn't work, do you know what he does? He starts dancing in front of them to distract them. Some techno. I think they were trying to do like Guardians of the Galaxy, where Star-Lord was like dun 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 dun, but it was terrible, shitty techno music. And then the good guys come and they rescue Trump, and they make him have to go back to Earth to fulfill the prophecy and fight Lucifer in hell. Yes, now it's Lucifer in hell. And this clone of Trump does not want to go to Earth because everybody that was so mean to him and ruined his reputation and did terrible things to him, and the witch hunts. And then they tell him, oh no, Earth has been destroyed. And he's like, oh, okay then. But here's another racist moment. The gate to hell is in Dubai, which has not been destroyed. And they were like, oh, why not? I was like, well, because Dubai is hell. And it was a very confusing, stupid ass joke trying to make that, the Middle East is hell and that's where the gates of hell would be. And Trump's like, makes sense. Oh, and at this point, about 45 minutes in, they introduce a character, Sasquatch, which is like a Bigfoot, but he is like a gorilla who speaks in AAVE. So again, very racist. And then the Sasquatch and the Halo-looking people fight the aliens that are working with Lucifer. And then Trump makes it to Dubai and goes to hell and meets Lucifer, who is an alien in a wheelchair. And the alien reveals that he got in that wheelchair because the Kennedys went to hell and fought him and almost won, but he won. And then Lucifer calls on galactic forces, and it's a werewolf now, it's a crab man, it's a bunch of weird ass characters, and it's him and Trump about to face off, and Lucifer goes, what are you gonna do? And then it's the credits, Trump versus the Illuminatis. Look, you asked me why I click on this. I was like, look, art tells you, what's inside the mind of a person, what's the zeitgeist and the times of things. And this film was looking inside the head of a right-winger, and it is confusing, it is racist, it is Trump is the galactic hero. It is a very dark and scary and nauseating place, and I have a headache from trying to follow along with these people's logic. Please do not click on this film. It is nauseating. I mean, I just gave you a 5-minute video, but I just saved you an hour and 3 minutes of your time. You're welcome.